The carriage I was in was too small for my liking. It didn't help that I had both my mom and dad in the carriage sitting right in front of me. They didn't make eye contact with me. Instead, like me, they were looking out the window and listening to the horses' feet clatter onto the ground. Look, they're the ones who came all this way to find me and bring me back to the castle, and I wondered why. Why now? They are the ones who banished me in the first place. My father, King Frederick, and my mother, Queen Eliza, had summoned me from the far reaches of our kingdom, where I had been overseeing a small fiefdom. They are forcing me back to the capital. I shifted uncomfortably on the plush, velvet seat, the rich fabric doing little to ease my tension. The countryside passed by in a blur of greens and browns, the rolling hills and scattered farms a stark contrast to the opulence of the royal palace I had left behind. My parents and I have never really seen eye to eye. They had their expectations, and I had my own path to forge. Our disagreements had led to my reassignment to the distant fiefdom, a place where I could rule without constant scrutiny. But now, here we were, crammed into this carriage, the silence between us heavy with unspoken words. "Alistair, you must understand the importance of your role," my mother had said sternly before we embarked on this journey. "You are the future of this kingdom, and your actions reflect upon us all." My father's silence had been even more damning. His disapproving gaze spoke volumes, a constant reminder of the expectations placed upon me since birth. I had always felt the weight of the crown, even though it had yet to rest upon my head. The carriage hit a bump, jolting me from my thoughts. I sighed and looked out the window again, trying to distract myself from the impending confrontation. My parents had been vague about their reasons for summoning me, but I could sense that it was more than just my recent indiscretions. There was an air of urgency that had not been present before. As we approached the capital, the landscape began to change. The open fields gave way to bustling villages and then to the fortified walls of the city. The streets were crowded with people, all going about their daily lives, unaware of the turmoil within their royal family. The carriage came to a halt in front of the palace gates, and a footman opened the door for me. I stepped out, straightening my tunic and taking a deep breath. The palace loomed ahead, its towering spires and grand facade both familiar and intimidating. I followed my parents into the meeting room, where the advisors and courtiers were already assembled. The room fell silent as we entered, all eyes turning to me. I could feel the weight of their scrutiny, the unspoken questions hanging in the air. Two maids came in and took mine and my parents' cloaks and took them to the laundry. My father motioned for all of us to sit, and so we did. "The details of this meeting will remain secret," my father said, his voice low and commanding. I glanced around the room, noticing the serious expressions on the faces of the gathered advisors. Whatever this was about, it was clearly of great importance. "Alistair," my father continued, "we have received reports of disturbances in a village on the outskirts of our kingdom. Strange occurrences have been happening, crops failing, livestock disappearing, and villagers living in fear. We suspect that there may be more to this than meets the eye." My mother leaned forward, her eyes fixed on me. "We need you to go to this village, investigate these events, and find a solution. This is your opportunity to prove yourself, Alistair. Show us that you are ready to take on the responsibilities of a future king." I nodded, feeling a mix of apprehension and determination. "I will do my best, mother, father. I won't let you down." King Frederick's stern expression softened slightly. "You leave at first light. Take whatever resources you need, but remember, this mission requires discretion and subtlety. We don't want to cause panic among the villagers." As the meeting concluded, I stood and bowed to my parents. The weight of their expectations pressed heavily upon me. I left the meeting room, and I walked over to the Great Hall. I looked up at the sword of Thunderstrike. The sword was neatly placed in its ornate sheath, gleaming with an eerie glow under the flickering torchlight. My dad was the only one that could get it out of its sheath. Many have tried to take it out, but the Thunderstrike only obeys the king of our land. One day, when I have proved myself worthy enough to hold it, that is when I will take my father's place and become king. The legend of the sword is that my great-great-grandfather was bestowed with it by a powerful sorcerer after saving the kingdom from a great calamity. The sword had since been a symbol of strength and legitimacy for our lineage, a reminder of the burdens and responsibilities that came with ruling. I reached out, tracing my fingers along the intricate designs etched into the sheath. The sword of Thunderstrike was a symbol of power and responsibility, a reminder of the legacy I was expected to uphold. Its hilt felt cold to the touch, almost as if it were waiting for the rightful heir to claim it. "Alistair," a voice called from behind me. I turned to see Sir Roderick, the captain of the Royal Guard, approaching. His stern face softened with a hint of a smile as he bowed slightly. "Your Highness, preparations for your journey are underway. The horses are being saddled, and provisions are being gathered as we speak." "Thank you, Sir Roderick," I replied, forcing a smile. "I appreciate your diligence." He nodded, his expression turning serious once more. "I have selected a few trusted men to accompany you. This mission may be more dangerous than it seems. We must be prepared for everything." "I understand," I said, feeling the gravity of the situation settling in. "I trust your judgment in choosing the best men for the job." Sir Roderick bowed again and left to finalize the preparations. I stood alone in the great hall, staring up at the sword one last time. This mission was my chance to prove myself, not just to my parents, but to the entire kingdom. I knew I had to succeed, no matter the cost.